Over 33 years ago, Ron Baker was introduced to my mother, Alice, by our cousin, Susie Melita. Alice, as the story goes, Mom was wearing a pink jogging suit when they met in January of 1986, and Ron could not get her out of his mind. They were married in November of that same year. Ron's son, Keith, recently described Alice as Ron's Rock of Gibraltar. As Ron would say, he was born 1, 2, and 30 in Irving, Kentucky. Being the youngest of 3 children, he quickly earned the adorable nickname Snooks. The little boy, crowned with curls and a sweet countenance, quickly learned that a grunt and a point of the finger brought him anything he desired. His father abruptly put an end to this behavior, cut his hair, and began to instill a strong work ethic in his son. As a little boy, Ron spent his summers golfing in the day and fishing at the night. Ron's mother had him selling homemade pies at the golf course. She instructed him to sell them for a nickel, but he had the keen idea that he could sell them for a dime, pocket the extra nickel. Ron, the salesman, was born. Ever since the days of Little Red Wagons, Ron Baker had a passion for sports. He began playing golf at the age of 7. By the 6th grade, he had been dubbed Bally, derived from the word ball, by his close group of friends. He could often be found at Estill County Country Club's 9-hole course. Clad only with a Spalding 2-iron he retrieved from the trash, he just got out there and beat that ball around something fierce. As a teen, Bally, with good friends, Alvy Hayes and Donald Hardy, teed off on the local club's par 5 first hole. The hole was a dogleg left. With a number 1 wood in his armor, he drove over the trees, leaving him 270 yards to the hole. On his second shot, the ball landed in front of the green and rolled in the hole for his first double eagle. Ron the golfer was born. This spark ignited a flame that would lead him later into the world of golf as a profession. His love of sports, especially Kentucky basketball, would often pull him out of his recliner while he was watching a game. Standing 3 feet from the TV screen, he'd either be cheering for his team or strongly disagreeing with the ref if he made a call against his beloved Wildcats. Ron served in the Navy from 1950 to 1955 during the Korean conflict. Afterward, he began working for International Harvester as an inventory controller. He held the post of golf professional at 4 different courses for a combined total of 36 years, and also worked as an honorary sheriff's deputy in Springfield, Ohio. According to his son Keith, the very best part of Ron's life were the more than 3 decades he spent being married to Alice. Ron went through a brief, troubled time, but worked through it, humbled himself, put his trust in God, and joined our little church in Lake Park. Mom and Ron made a fantastic team, partnering in 1991 to establish Baker's Golf Outlet. It was a dream come true for Ron. Mom worked the back with the books, and Ron ruled the sales floor. I joined them in the business in 1992. Of course, there were the occasional conflicts between the salesman, who was everybody's friend, and the businesswoman with her yellow highlighter. But the days at Baker's Golf were special to all of us. The relationships Ron forged in the golf world paved the way to many buyouts, resulting in a garage packed more often with equipment designed to help you drive a ball rather than a car. In 2010, Ron and Alice moved to Cartersville to be closer to family and enjoy their retirement. Ron absolutely loved Cartersville, the golf course, church, playing cards with his buddies. He was a regular at the Cartersville football games. John 1:9 says, "The true light, which gives light to everyone, was coming into the world." This verse tells us that every person born is given light from the true light, who is Jesus Christ. I'd like to share with you how Ron's life reflected this true light. A friend loves at all times, says the writer of Proverbs. And Ron Baker never knew a stranger. All who met Ron were instantly set at ease. Ron's way of befriending was so natural you didn't even know it was happening to you. Baby Snooks grew up to become one who doled out affectionate names. Tim recalls the first time he met Ron at Baker's Golf. He walked in and was greeted by Ron with a, "What you know, sport?" rather than the traditional, "How can I help you?" No one was a you to Ron. Strangers were partner, sport, buddy, pal, and as I observed him in the hospital, it was ma'am and sir to the nurses and doctors, always. And for some in the family, he created loving names. For his wife, Alice, she was the Tweety Bird, Tweeters, Tweets, and occasionally the Chief. Ron kept a whistle in the shop, and when he would see Mom pull up, he would hustle and grab his whistle, and he would run to the door, stand at attention, salute her, and pipe her aboard with his whistle. He loved that. He loved that. His grandson, Jacob, Jake the Snake, simply for the rhyme and not character. Cammy Lou. Kelly, his one and only granddaughter. He early on christened the Crumb Snatcher, and for short, the most affectionate Crummy. And Crummy, he was so proud of you at your ordination. And for me, Blonzy, Blonzo, and the most formal Blonzozy Mocozy, in response to which I named him Ronzo. Jesus, while on earth, taught with parables and stories. Ron reflected this as he was a storyteller of nonfiction and fiction. And as he aged, he merged the two with great acuity. The after-dinner recounting of him as a young boy caddying for Penny Lewis, his Navy days as a chauffeur for the skipper, and how he would get him back to the ship safely after a night of carousing and tucked into bed. Stories of him traveling great distances for special buys on sporting equipment, loading up his vehicle and using it as a makeshift sporting goods store. He dealt with cash in those days, and he had it hidden in some very obscure places, like ice trays, toilet tanks, and the inside of a TV. And everything was safe and secure until a repair was needed. Ron was merciful. He'd tell how as a sheriff's deputy, he on many occasions returned men in drunken conditions to their homes rather than the local jail. Ron was generous. He loved sharing his generosity with his customers by giving deep discounts. And when the yellow highlighter would appear on the floor, he would look at me and he would say to me, "Blonzo, it's only money. They print it every day." He loved whipping out a wad of cash and treating. Ron was self-sacrificing. When in 1988, Mom had her heart attack and couldn't climb the stairs to their bedroom, Ronzo slept on the floor next to her for weeks. And in order to attend only a few hours at a parents' weekend during my senior year in college, Ron drove from Springfield, Ohio to Fort Myers, Florida, picked up Mom, and drove back to Jefferson City, Tennessee, only to spend a few hours with me and having to leave at halftime of the football game in order to get Mom back to Fort Myers so she could get to work. Ron would gladly, when my grandfather was alive, Ron would gladly chauffeur him on his rounds to deliver strawberries all over Fort Myers. Ron reflected God's goodness. For over 32 years, Ronzo has been so good to me. He loved eating at the Waffle House. We had an unspoken system where I would open Baker's Golf at 9 o'clock so he could stay at the Waffle House and talk with his buddies. When he arrived, he would present me with a hot Waffle House coffee and we would get the day started. He walked with me through heartbreak and he walked me down the aisle to Tim. In 1999, I acted as my own contractor, building my house while working at Baker's Golf, Ron would cover the store so I could go over to the construction site. His support during that time allowed for the budding of my love for architecture and design. Ronzo, you have been so good to me. Thank you, my dad and my friend. We are all thankful for Ron's long, full life of 89 and 1/2 years. How do we manage our grief? Mom, for you it will be the hardest. C.S. Lewis wrote in A Grief Observed that we all will have impulses. For example, Mom, I can't wait to get home and tell Ron about my bridge game. Then only to be stunned with the ping of irretrievable loss. The empty place at the dinner table, golf course, card table, church pew, and family gatherings. Lewis likened these experiences to taking up a bow, fitting an arrow to the string, only to realize that the target of our love is gone. For now. And we grieve. But I would say to you, let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe in Jesus. Fit your arrow to the string. Raise your bow and give thanks to God for the good gift of Rondell Jenkins Baker. And Ronzo, we'll see you around, partner.